Okay, so we have the basics of this started. We have our name of our program and we have the instructions to the user. And as before, I've left space in case I want to do something else. So let's move on and look at making a flashcard and how can we make it work. So I'm going to come over to 5. There we go. And in this case, what I've got is a very simple picture of a dog. Let's see if I can get it squared up. Let's make that, let's see. I can drag this up so I have a little more space to work with. Okay, so we have a picture of a dog, and it says this is a picture of A, and there is a space for us to put our answer. The go button so that we can go and check our answer, and next so we can go to the next question. And then this is going to be for a response to us. So let's look at the properties of each one of these. So first of all, I've got to unlock everything. And now I want to go to properties, and let's look at this guy first. He says, there we go. All right, this is a dynamic text box, and it's called response.text. Okay, you remember that dynamic text boxes, the computer will write something to us. All right, this says that it is a movie clip called card.mc. And if I click on this, oh, nothing happens, and I'll show you why in a moment. We have the image of the dog, and we have some text. Now, if I get the tools out of the way, we can look at this. All right, I have put, strangely enough, the image of the dog on the image layer. And if I go to the text, I have the text box. The card is on the card layer, and you can tell it's selected because I've got that little registration mark. My buttons are on the button layer. And response is on the response layer. All right, notice there is a radio button layer, and we're going to get to that in the next frame. So how did I make this card? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot over. I'm going to get myself a rectangle. And this is exactly what I did. I had a gray fill and a black outline, and I simply drag out a box. And when I did this, I made it on the grid so I could see where I was. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, let's do it the intelligent way. I'm going to highlight the entire thing. I'm going to modify, convert to symbol. I'm going to do movie clip, and we'll call this card 2_MC. And it's underscore MC because it is a movie clip. And now we're going to go OK. Now let's talk about how did I get this text box into the card. If I double click, trust me, I'm going to double click. Notice that I'm in card2.mc and I have my own timeline. So what I'm going to do is effectively add onto the card inside the card. So I'm going to check this. Now I don't want dynamic, I want, input text. There we go. And I'm going to drag out a text box. Now I need to give it an instance name. Well, what instance name should I use? Well, what is this? This is answer. So I will call this an est. So I'll call that answer.text, or answer_text, excuse me. And once I've done that, I can go back to scene 1, and oh, what's the difference? Notice you can't see this. There's a dotted line. So let's go back. Let's choose this guy. Notice this, it says show border around text. We want to click that on. Otherwise, the user will have no idea where they are supposed to enter their text. So let's come back to our other card. Let's double click on it. I've selected it. I can tell because I've got the little target there. Double click, and there's my answer text. Okay. Now, the trick for this particular program is going to be, how do I address that? And I'll show you in a second. And now what I need to do is I need to put an action script in here. So let's go there, click on the action script. All right, obviously the first thing I want to do is stop. Let's drag this over and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so when I press the go button, it's going to see, is my answer in the answer.text box, does it say dog? And so how I addressed that was, this text box is part of card_MC. So this says, go to the card, find the text box called answer_text, look at what's in the text, which is an attribute. Text is the attribute of this text box, and this is == dog. If that is what I get, or if that's what's in the text box, then my response.text text will be correct. If not, else I will have not correct. So take a deep breath and look at that. The important thing here is, let us give ourselves some spaces so we can see this. Notice that that is ==. I'm going to put that back. Those are two equal signs, and this says, are they the same? This, a single equal sign, is what's referred to as an assignment statement. And it is assigning what is on the right to go into this text box. And the same down here. If this was not dog, then else I will get not correct put into or assigned to response.text. Response text.text. And then I have my next button that will take me on to frame 6. Now, for the moment, I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to put 1 in here just so that I don't go on. So here we go. Let's look at this. All right, so go isn't going to do anything at this point, but next will take me on. Notice that when I come in here and click, that is now highlighted, or I can, if I go CAT, says not correct. If I say dog, it is correct, and next should take me back to the beginning. All right, so my other option is to have radio buttons. Well, that doesn't look really exciting at this point because they all say radio button. Well, let me prove to you that that's not going to happen. So I will come back here, go in, and we will now go on to 6. And actually, we can make life easier. I can go directly to 6. So notice that these all now say dog, cat, bunny, llama. So if I click on cat and click go, not correct. But if I click on dog, it will be correct. So how did I do that? Well, it's sort of a pain, but it's not really that difficult. When I put the radio buttons on, let's choose a radio button. All right, when I click on the first radio button, its instance name is R1. If I was really good about this, I would have done underscore RB, but I didn't, and well, we can add all that in if I guess, but I'm not going to. All right, and then if I come down, I have R2, R3, R4. Now, in my library, I have one radio button that I can drag out and put onto my card, and they should all be in the radio button layer. So I can drag on as many radio buttons as I want, as long as I give each one its own instance name. All right, now let's go back here. Let's lock everything so I don't mess up. So there are two things I have to do. I have to give each one of these a label and a value. If I may suggest, if you highlight, once you've done the first one, you've typed in r1.label equals and give it a label, r2.value equals false. I'll explain that in a second. Once you've got those two, if you simply copy and paste however many times you need, and then change the 1 to a 2, now what you'll have to do is change the name, because you all want them to be false to begin with. If this value is false, then that means it is not checked or pressed, so that it will show up looking like this, but instead of radio button, it'll say dog, cat, bunny, llama. Okay, so there are two things you have to do. You have to give it a label, which is going to be what shows up, and then you're going to have to give it a value, and you should start with false. Now, when I press the go button, it's going to say if r1.value equal, remember double equal true, that means I checked it, then my response will have correct put into it, else it will be incorrect. All right, so let us then do this. We want to go next, and now I'm here, and if I do cat, it says not correct. If it says dog, notice that I can see that the dog is checked, and when I have radio buttons, I can only choose one, and I say go and it's correct. Okay, so that's basically what you need to do. Is have some questions. I can, as opposed to having this is a picture of, you can have a picture and say this is a, or something of that nature. Radio buttons, you could have anything you want as a label for the radio button. You're going to have to watch out how long it is. You may have to adjust in the properties how much space the radio button takes up. All right, so those are your basic kinds of questions.